Consistency. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Capitalist Corner. I am your host, Mark Pellegrino, and also the chair of the American Capitalist Party, along with my co-host and vice chair of the American Capitalist Party, Michael Liebowitz, who also hosts his own fantastic show called The Rational Egoist. If you're not listening and or watching that show right now, your IQ is dropping as we speak. So if you want to serve your IQ, if you want to make your IQ bigger and better than it is today, please watch the show. He's got some great upcoming guests. Do you want to talk about it a little bit?
Well, I got right now out there is a great debate between Andrew Bernstein and myself on
subject, please, of the debate.
I was getting to that. I mean, I'm getting to it. You interrupted. It just messed up the whole flow. But the subject is Andy is a big believer that the left is so evil that it warrants supporting the right. And I hold that's not the case, that neither is that much more evil than the other. So we had a debate about it. I thought it was great. It's been referenced here. It's been referenced here just now by Kat Sterling. I want to tell you this video that they put together for my birthday. Thank you guys so much. This thing was awesome, including the dig at Mark. The dig at Mark was like the greatest part of the whole thing.
Wait a minute. There was I participated in this thing. Tell me about a dig at me, though. What was the dig at me?
They've got you on tape, and it says it's you saying, I think I commented on his card. I'm not sure. I'm not good at technology.
Who did that to me? Who betrayed me?
I don't know.
Get
but
me
it
behind
was
me. Et tu, Brute?
Yes. That was the best part of the whole thing. I mean, there was so much kindness and nice, happy birthdays from everybody. But that part, that did it. That was the best thing going. That was fantastic. Upcoming on The Rational Egoist, in addition to the great debate with Andy Bernstein, I've got an interview that I'm going to release in a couple of days. That was with Christina Laporte, the objectivist author. It was about her latest book, her experience as an objectivist. I've also got an interview coming up with Jacob Berman. He hosts the History, I think it's called the History Village podcast. Jim, let me know in the comments what the name of his podcast is. History Valley. So that's going to be coming up. It's his theory of Christianity. I'm also going to be interviewing pretty soon the former popular talk show host here in Connecticut, Tom Shattuck. That should be great. History Valley, Jim, thank you. So yeah, I've got a ton of things going on that are just going to be phenomenal.
Sounds great. Lee is busting my balls already in the chat, saying that it took me 2 weeks to figure out how to add a picture. That's not exactly the truth of what happened there, but it did take me a while, but it's not because of adding a picture. Lee, you are the reason that I am not going to the UK over the next I knew that you were going to bust my balls when you came to the front of my line, and I said, I can't handle it, guys. I can't go to the UK. Lee is giving me anxiety. No, that's not it, Lee. I just want you to know I got a job, and I am actually working on that weekend for some crazy reason.
Mark, say it. Please say it.
The production
Please
company.
Say it, Mark.
Say what?
Say it. You said I have a job. What is your job? Just say it. I know you're dying.
Say it. I'm under NDA. I can't say
No.
it.
Your favorite thing to say. I'm an actor.
I am an actor, so I got a gig acting. So, but we are trying to work out other dates, folks. Other dates in the UK as well. So have no fear, Lee. I will eventually get you into a guillotine choke and make you pay for all of the times that you hurt my feelings on this chat. Look, I have to say, before we continue this crazy conversation and the directions that it's potentially going, Michael and I are speaking on our own behalf, not on the behalf of the American Capitalist Party, even though we are both chairman and vice chair of the party. And our capitalists ourselves, much of what you will hear today is our own opinion. If you want to know what the American Capitalist Party is about, please go to americancapitalistsparty.org. Donate, sign up, become a part of the change. If you're sick of the duopoly as we are, if you're sick of all the alternatives to the duopoly as we are, Turn to the one alternative that can actually get us out of the insanity we are presently in, and that is the AmericanCapitalistParty.org. Well, you want to say something, Michael?
I have a couple. I have a couple questions for you. Well, I have a question for you. Actually, is first of all that somebody commented on the mustache, which I didn't even notice that you had a mustache because it's a ginger. It's a ginger stash, so you can't see it. But somebody else thought
you would be able to see a ginger stash.
Okay, so but a serious question: is that common, Mark, when you go for acting gigs that they have you sign an NDA? Like I know they do that sort of thing, like for soaps and stuff, where you can't reveal what's going on. But is that common all around in Hollywood?
For extremely popular shows, they not only have you sign NDAs, they also do not audition the material that you are actually going to use on the day. So they may take a scene that ends up in the show, but the characters are all changed around for reasons that if any of that stuff happens to leak out, nobody really knows what the hell is going on. And so that's precisely what's going on here. So I have to remain mum. All the folks who would come see me in the UK have to know is that I'm sorry. I would love to go see you, but me gotta work. Got to put bread and onions on the table, folks. So we are negotiating a later time. I don't remember the name of the con in the UK, but there is a negotiation going on for that. So hopefully that will happen, and I'll still be able to see y'all. In the maw of hell. The UK is the maw of hell at the moment, as far as government goes, free speech goes, the disintegration of culture goes. I will go into the maw of hell just to help protect and save our friends abroad. Mustaches are insane. What does that mean? Does that mean they're cool, or does that mean they are literally crazy, like a stupid thing to happen?
It means they give off a very 70s porno vibe.
Yes, in this case.
Didn't they say you were? Didn't we go through this? You did a porn.
I did not do a porn.
I thought that's what was said. Okay, can we get to some stories? We don't need to hear the denials about the porn. You're an actor and you were in porn. Okay, so what is?
Sylvester Stallone was in a porn. I did not do a porn. I did a risque movie.
Why'd you just throw Stallone under the under the bus?
To take attention? Under the bus, the Italian Stallion. He did a porn.
That's why you call him the Italian Stallion?
That's not why.
All right. We need the stories. What are the stories?
He's today? No Liam Neeson. Let's just put it that way.
Oh, my God.
Okay, you took this way.
I did not. I want to know the stories. You're telling me about all the porns you're into.
Page 6 in the Post literally started talking about Liam Neeson's junk. In the New York Post, talking about.
Why are you up to date on this? Do you get notifications?
I read the newspaper on Saturday. I don't get notifications. He and Pamela Anderson started a thing after Naked Gun, the latest Naked Gun reprisal, and people started talking about how legendarily large he was. Like many people don't know, Milton Berle was legend.
Everybody knows that about Milton Berle. Everybody. It was even in a Friends episode. But the fact that you're getting notifications on your phone about this stuff, but can we just get to the stories? I didn't
get notification. So let's start off with the Psychology Today article that you sent me, because I thought it was really good. And I had some questions for you as well, because the title of this was Who's Living Your Life? And it's about living an authentic life and asking yourself internally, what do I really want? What do I really want to do? Because oftentimes people, and I know folks in the chat have probably experienced this before, you experience other people's lives. It puts you in a state of insecurity. You don't think you're living the way you need to live or pursuing the values that you need to pursue. It makes you unhappy. You feel out of step. And you feel like you're missing milestones that other people are achieving, and you're not sure exactly what you want to do with yourself. Well, how do you defeat that? And who is informing you of what's right and what's wrong for your life? But the solution that it comes up with, Michael, is a bit of introspection, of course. But what if you were not raised in a way that let's say promoted correct wiring in your brain, so that your values are very much askew, so that your feelings are actually counter productive. They don't work for your life. The things that you're comfortable with or want to aspire to actually harm you. So what do you do in a case like that when introspection makes you, and following your heart means you'll follow it over a cliff?
This is why I sent you this article because I thought it worked on a number of levels, because I think authenticity is very important, right? Um, at the same time, I think it's a big mistake to just be guided by feelings, which seems to be what the article is recommending, that you just turn inward to see how you feel about things. But it leads to, some very interesting questions that I don't necessarily even have the answers to. And that is, yes, you want to be authentic to yourself. Uh, but how do you know what actually matches what you want to do, or what's a good fit? You look to your emotions. What if your emotions are askew, like you just said? Is the self something that's discovered? Is it something that's created? And I tend to think that there needs to be a beginning point where we say, I'm going to live by reason. That's got to be the first thing. That's got to be the primary, right? And then you say, I'm going to live by reason, and I'm going to develop rational values. Now, if you develop rational abstract values, thank you, Ariana. If you develop these abstract values, like for instance, in the objectivist ethics, reason, purpose, self-esteem are the abstract values. That doesn't tell you what your purpose has to be, right? It just tells you that you need purpose. So we know that. But once you start thinking rationally, now you can rule out those things that you're talking about for years and years and years. And it still pops up sometimes. I used to have a thing. You cross me, dude, I am crushing you. That was my thinking, when I was on the street. Like, you give someone gives me a dirty look, and we're going to have problems, right? And I really liked that, and I liked being feared. I mean, I remember one time I was driving down the street with a friend of mine, and somebody threw something at the car, or we thought he did, and my friend went back. And when the two kids they were walking their dog, and it was a pit bull. So once I saw the pit bull, I really didn't care about the throwing at the car anymore. I just wanted to play with their dog. And this kid just kept telling me, I'm so scared. I'm just so scared. I'm so scared. And like, I'm telling him, no, don't worry about it. But I got off on it because my internal emotional mechanisms and my values were just done. So, but if you start to say, okay, I'm going to change that by virtue of reason, those old emotions still come up at times. So when somebody, when I'm like tired, for instance, and I'm on Twitter, and somebody really comes off sideways, like, my first thinking is, boy, I'd like to do some damage to this dude. But then I challenge it immediately because I know it's not rational. So I think that it's my long way of saying, once you adopt reason as your fundamental, then I think it's okay to look inside and say, well, what are my feelings driving me towards? Like, for instance, it would be ridiculous for you as when you were a teenager to say, you know what, I'm going to go become a doctor. That's what I'm going to do, because reason tells me that doctors are productive and doctors make a lot of money, right? But that obviously isn't the case for you. It's not the case that this would fulfill you. Acting does. So on some part, it is emotional. It's an emotional drive toward things, but you check it against the backdrop of reason in those abstract values. This is my long. I'm going to another long-winded way. That's twice, which means I'm way over long-winded. But the bottom line is, you don't want to be adopting your values, your opinions, what you do with your life based on what other people think, say, and do. That's the real nub of this, is you need to look to yourself, to your wants, your needs, your values.
Well, at the same time, you need other people sometimes to help guide you to that, especially if your internal wiring is so messed up. You need somebody who does adopt reason to help you sometimes see what the rational course is, and
yes,
help guide you to your authentic self. Because certainly acting is a technique. If you take acting technique seriously, for many people, it's a transformative experience, and they start really questioning the values that they pursued all of their lives. and many start changing their lives accordingly, some for better, some for worse. Unfortunately, acting technique doesn't provide anything beyond, well, what are your instincts? How do you feel about things? It still goes in the direction that the culture takes us, which is, for the deeper questions, ask your heart, not your head, your heart. And I'm trying to bring this reformation of reason also to the acting world, so that actors are no longer suspicious of their minds. Believe it or not, actors hate their minds. They're told by acting teachers, don't think, don't think, don't think. Now, for the teacher may mean don't edit yourself, let your raw impulse of the moment come out. But what they're actually saying to to the student, from the student's perspective, is thinking is bad. And so they become more trusting of whatever impulse comes out of their gut than, thoughtful contemplation over an issue. They begin to look at acting and thinking as at working at odds with each other. And some of the greatest actors in the world, and I was friends with Rod Steiger, he much preferred the intuitive man over the intellectual. And the examples that he would give of an intellectual were utterly absurd, but he believed that and lived his life accordingly. So perhaps it's no mistake that he went through a 9-year-long depression that he could not get out of, because he didn't have the rational tools or the philosophy to help him navigate those feelings. So that's interesting that you say, first and foremost, you make the decision to embrace reason, and then the rest falls from there.
I wouldn't say it just follows like it's, or just falls like if it's automatic sort of thing. I mean, but I think it's actually, Ayn Rand wrote, her theory of art, or of writing, was that you get it all out. You rely on your subconscious and you just go, but then you edit rationally. I think with human behavior, it's actually the opposite. I think that we need to first edit and then behave, because if we just behave based on now, that doesn't mean I'm not, talking about analysis paralysis here. I'm not saying you have to wait until you have every T and I, crossed and dotted before you give any behavior. But I think we do need to address our fundamental values and then how they apply to the world. And I think we know that, like, for instance, I wanted to be a psychotherapist. That was my goal, right? And I think I could have done it. It fits me well. It's something that I enjoy doing. But when I came in touch with talk radio, it was as natural a fit for me as doing the psychology stuff, but it was also far more plausible for me to do as a career. I have an associate's in psychology, but to actually go to the level of counseling I would want to do would require a master's. So I would have had to get out of prison, and then you spend so much of my time on education. Whereas doing this, I'm able to get the education as I go, as we do this. And it's an easier thing. Both would have been a good fit for me. Well, but then again, I mean, to be a carpenter would never have been a good fit for me. You know what I mean? So
Sure.
I think, but all of these are rational sort of vocations, right? They can all be rational, but you have to be able to judge that against a rational standard. As long as your backstop is rationality, I think it's okay to go by feelings. But if you just take your feelings as primaries and don't check them against rationality and a rational standard, then I think it's devastating.
I couldn't agree more. So it seems like Trump is in a little bit of throwing a little bit of a tantrum over.
Can I just tell you that all the comments are just about your mustache? We have nothing about the intellectual content we're discussing. Nobody cares. We just had this great, insightful discussion about values, emotions, being authentic, and all they care about is your stash.
Yeah, guys, this was an important discussion. I mean, it was the intersection of philosophy and psychology, the very thing that we're going to be talking about on our other show for Patreon. I think it'll be very helpful for everybody, including myself, to reaffirm, many of the concepts that we're talking about. And you should be reaffirming them yourself, because If you're happy with your life, great. It'll make you more happy. If you're unhappy with your life, I'm sorry, but these concepts can really help you build a new foundation for a life that can potentially be very good for you. Yes, people aren't trusting my mustache. I say it's a very untrustworthy mustache. Without giving away too much, I don't blame you. Let's just put it that way. I'll be able to say more later on, but it should be an untrustworthy mustache. Well, right now it's untrustworthy because I've only been growing it for a day. So what it is a little sandpaper thing above my lip, but it'll grow out fully. Uh, what is that, Mike?
It's just, you ever hear the saying, when you're in a hole, stop digging?
No, I like to dig completely.
I
I
know,
dig
because you
vagina.
keep going. Like, we're getting this exhausting description of the mustache.
It's not
Like,
exhausting.
no, you're like obsessed with your mustache,
I'm
dude.
not. They are.
Yeah, but you're feeding it. You're
I'm
like, oh, my
responding to it.
stash, and it's thin, and it's
Oh,
this.
you prefer to feed them on other things. You prefer a different kind of nourishment for them. I prefer this
Yeah,
nourishment.
yeah,
Hey,
I
and by the
prefer
way,
the educational stuff.
I started reading the title of the other article, and you broke it off to bring up the mustache. Might I just add?
Oh, look
White
at
House.
this. Go ahead, but we're going to
There
get
you
to. I
go
want.
again. There
This
you
is
go.
important, though. I think
Okay.
we're going to get to this at some point. I'd love to hear you guys talk about the pros and cons of private prisons. We will get to that. If not today, we'll do a whole show on it.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Michael could talk about that more than me, but I definitely love being a fly on the wall during that conversation. Add my yays and nays when possible. White House officials say Trump had real concerns with top labor official before firing her. So this is the excuse now that Trump is coming up with. Actually, she wasn't doing a great job before she released the statistics that show, well, labor isn't really growing at all. The jobs market is stagnant, and perhaps this recession is creeping upon us. The recession that the left and many economists have predicted would happen with these tariffs is actually creeping upon us. So rather than acknowledge that this is a possibility, change course with your policies, he is in an act of denial. And there's a reason I think evasion is one of the number one sins of objectivists. It is the very thing that will ruin your life. And in this case, an entire country's life. Now, what do you think about this adolescent swing to the big lie that this person was problematic before she released the truthful labor statistics?
I
I mean,
think
so
that
bald.
it's Donald Trump, his entire public career, whenever things don't go right for him or the way he wants, he blames. It's rigged, it's this, it's that, and many of his followers buy it. When the job numbers were good for Trump a couple months ago, right? I don't remember Trump coming out saying, don't trust these numbers. I don't remember anybody in the Trump orbit saying that. How it's not suspicious to people that he only bitches when it goes against him. For me, I'm very skeptical of labor numbers regardless. I'm very skeptical of using these types of measures like the inflation rate, or unemployment rate, jobs numbers, whatever, in economics. Very skeptical of it. But I'm skeptical regardless. I don't just say when the numbers say something that I like or I don't like, oh, now I'm going to be skeptical. But that's what he does. That's his playbook. And the only time it ever seemed to have bothered any of his followers is when it was about Epstein, because they have this obsession with that topic. So, I mean, I don't know how people don't see it. I don't know how people don't get it. But some people don't, and they'll keep supporting him. But the idea that we're now going to be firing people because they give you information you don't agree, nothing says lie to me like this, right? Because now the next person's not going to want to get fired. They just tell him what he wants to hear. Yes, great economy. And then he's like Kim Jong-un, and everybody's clapping. Meanwhile, people are starving. So, Greg Doherty, thank you for the happy birthday. But that's my ultimate take on it. Is I think it's just ridiculous. I think he is a fucking ridiculous human being, and there's no other way to put it. How anyone takes this jackass seriously, I don't know, and it just gets worse and worse and worse.
Now, I haven't been watching conservative news lately, but do you think some of the shine is going to come off this guy shortly as these labor statistics become more real as instead of just abstract figures, but they become more real? Do you think some of the people on the right are going to stop spiking the football and start realizing that they probably should have some buyer's remorse?
I don't know. I just don't know. Like, because unless I don't know. I was gonna say that unless it's sort of clumped within a community, so everybody can see that it's everybody that's suffering. One guy could explain it away and say, "Well, it's just me, but everybody else is doing well." But I just don't know. I don't suffer from this level of denial and rationalization, so it's very difficult for me to gauge what they'll do and what they'll say.
Because we're running up against a series of unavoidable problems that Reason points out in an article entitled "The National Debt Becoming Your Local Problem." Now, because of this debt, the government has had to attempt to scale back spending, which many of the states have become dependent on, especially with respect to Medicare. And since now the government is
Medicaid, you mean, Mark, right?
Medicaid. Since the government is now putting the onus of Medicaid expenses on the states themselves, where they at first subsidized them, that means billions and billions of more debt is being placed on the shoulders of states, which would require them to either cut spending in other areas or, of course, tax their constituents much more heavily. So this problem is not just this is not an abstract thing that we have to worry about in the distant future. This is going to occur within the next year, where states already in debt crises like California are going to start experiencing extreme debt crises, which is going to force the political class to do something. And whatever it is they do, folks, you as the constituents are going to feel it, because they certainly are not apt to cut programs. Nobody in Washington and or the states wants to cut these programs. It's political patronage pays for them. It pays the political class. It keeps them in power, and they don't want to lose that lever. So what do you think is going to happen, Mike? I mean, we have a $29 trillion federal debt that's held by the public.
I thought it was higher than that. He said 20.
It said 29 trillion here. I thought it was 37 trillion.
Yeah, but it says held by the public. So the rest of that debt might be
held by
foreign countries. That's what I'm thinking. But I think that this goes to what we've been talking about. The other day you said eventually, we were talking, it's going to harm us, the debt. We had a conversation, and my position was that it already is. It's not the catastrophic type of collapse that some have predicted, but we are feeling the negative effects of the debt. Now, I mean, look, I'm not going to shed any tears for state governments that are overspending, counting on the federal government to bail them out. But nevertheless, they do have these programs in place that are going to suffer. And even if they didn't have these on the state level, the fact that the government is in debt is taking money out of the economy that would reflect the spending choices of the citizenry, and instead is going to pay debt and reflects the spending preferences of the people that the government owes money to, which is not a good thing.
Yeah, folks don't seem to understand out there in the real world that, this debt, which is now 124% of the gross domestic product. Imagine that, Michael, 127% of the gross domestic product. That siphons off capital to pay the parasitic political class from actual productive enterprises. So that's, again, stuff you will never see, innovations you will never see, businesses that can never be created, because all of the capital that would have funded those things is being siphoned off to pay for debt, the social welfare debt. Now, it's 124% of gross domestic product now. But in 2035, it is scheduled to go up to 135% of the gross domestic product. The total gross domestic product of the country, which means everything we produce is basically less than the debt that we have. This is an impossible state of affairs to maintain. This is bankruptcy. moral and material bankruptcy on the part of the United States. And I think the only thing that's been that's shielding us from hyperinflation, which would happen if Trump gets his way, if he is able to implant a Treasury Secretary, or not Treasury Secretary, but somebody in the Federal Reserve that will lower short-term interest rates, that will start an expansion of credit, will start a massive boom bust cycle, and we're talking a depression of the likes we have not ever seen in the history of the country if that happens. So Allie Beard do you agree with me, or am I off on this?
No, you're spot on. I agree with you 100%.
So she has a general, Allie Beard has a general question for us both. Has the tone shifted for this podcast? I've been noticing it since last week. I don't know what that means.
I don't think so. I would like you to elaborate, maybe, Allie. I don't know. I mean, last week I did get my wisdom teeth pulled, so I might be, a little off. I don't know, but I certainly don't think so. I mean,
Allie Beard also says the U.S. is never going to get out of debt.
Well, that's probably correct. As far as the podcast goes, I do want to just say one thing, is that Mark and I are authentic people. So we're going to come out here and just be ourselves. Sometimes that means laughing. Sometimes that means being serious. It depends, on what's going on in the world, that sort of thing. But at the same time, yes, we do have to, we discuss behind the scenes what is going to create the best product to attract the most viewers while we're still being authentic. So there will be minor adjustments, but overall, I don't think the tone has changed, Allie. You're going to have to be specific, and maybe you can point something out, but I don't think so. But Manu says yes too. I don't know. You got to let us know what you're talking about, and then we can address it.
Yeah, be specific, and we'll talk about it. And is it changed for the better or for the worse? Let us know. She also says we're never getting out of debt. You agree that we're never getting out of debt?
Well, I mean, Race comes in and says, well, never is a long time. Yeah, I don't believe that we're going to be out of debt in my lifetime, which for me is never. Because once I'm gone, I really don't care about the debt.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I hold out hope that there's going to be a sea change in politics, but then I see that American people protesting for Medicaid and Medicare, American people protesting not to touch their Social Security. And I think, well, if you understand, as many people seem to, that the national debt is a real crisis and it's about to throw us into fiscal chaos, why are you at the same time protesting that your benefits not be touched? It's a have your cake and eat it too scenario, which is very frightening to me because that's anti-rational. So I too am a little nervous. I'm hoping that we can start enough of a revolution of mind in America that people start to view the debt as a thing that needs to be taken away, and they won't look at government cuts as austerity, quote unquote, as if the premise of government should be to supply the needs of the people, but as justifiable cuts so that we bring the government to its actual purpose, which is to protect individual rights and property, not to subsidize everybody, to build up political patronage.
Can I just tell you how happy I am today that I'm getting these stitches out?
Good. Now, didn't one of them break?
No, I thought so, but no, they're just very distracting, and I cannot wait to get rid of them. I'm very, very excited.
Are they going to have to Are they going to have to, numb you up to take the stitches out, or not?
I don't think so, man. I think they just go in there and start chopping.
Okay.
We'll see. I hope they just get them out. If they got to numb me, they got to numb me. But that's going to suck for tonight because they're having some burgers and stuff for me, and I won't be able to eat burgers with a numb mouth. Cake, on the other hand.
It won't be all numb for a long time. It'll.
How do you know how long it's going to be numb for?
Because I've had work done on my teeth. What do you think?
Yeah, but they don't give everybody the same amount of.
Yes, I have specific
Novocaine.
That's true. I happen to get lots of Novocaine because my teeth are still sensitive, so they have to shoot me with like 4 or 5 buckles of the stuff before I actually go numb. And you're numb for a couple hours, and then it goes away. And look,
if I'm getting the things taken out, they'll be done at 4. They're having burgers at 5:36. So
You'll be fine.
you
You'll be right.
you
You'll be
made
right.
this, but you started off with this statement. You don't know how much Novocaine I'm getting. You don't know how far removed the Novocaine is from the burgers, and you're just coming up with all kinds of stuff. We don't need that in our lives.
Generally speaking,
I've always hated that saying, "Have your cake and eat it too." I know what it literally means, but to me, it sounds like you can't have your cake and eat it. Well, what the hell do I want it for if I'm not eating
it. What? No, it means you can't
I
keep it at
just
the same
told
time
you.
you eat it.
I
When you
just
eat it,
okay.
you don't have it anymore.
I know. I just told you. I know what the saying means, but what it sounds like is that I'm going to have my cake and I can't eat it. Well, what the hell? I want to eat the cake. Otherwise, I don't want it. That's what it sounds like. I know what it actually means. Okay. Ian says I need to schedule my dentist visits a little earlier. You're probably correct, but the problem here with that is we have to do the show.
Okay. Speaking of all this crazy nonsense, you sent me a tweet about Candace Owens.
Yeah, which one?
The tweet is from a character named Max, and it says Candace Owens sounds so nuts here that you wonder if she's pushing Tucker Carlson in a pro-Israel direction. Now, I'm only seeing some of what she's saying here, and there's a lot of words like demonic coming up. And she's talking about the Israelis, and she's killing people and seeing who survives. It's just your fingertips. Take a look at Israel, what Israel is doing. So she's become a anti-Semite, full-on anti-Semite, anti-Israel fanatic who is now putting Israel in the category of a demonic state. Excuse me if you see me blinking, folks. I think my contact lens tore.
Oh, no.
Yeah, tore inside my eye. So what do you think of this person? I mean, I know we've already talked about her as a grifter. She's just going out.
You left out the punchline.
What's the punchline?
She said the country has not been free since they assassinated JFK.
Oh, so now she says, "Oh, it's the Jews that assassinated JFK."
Yes, it's the Mossad. I don't see. Nicole Hingle says Candace is nuts. I don't think so. I think she's a straight grifter. That's all she is. And I think that she says and does what's going to keep her a large audience and fill her pockets. I don't think she gives a damn about what comes out of her mouth. I don't know. And this is the big problem with the influencer class, is it's very difficult to tell if they're crazy or if they are just lying because they want money. And I ultimately don't know, but I do know that my feed is full of people that are just obsessed with Jews in this way. The Jews this, the Jews that. It's the Jews are just everything. Do you know this Ryan Dawson asshole?
No.
Oh, you got to follow him.
Why?
He's such a dick. I think that's his name anyway. It's just everything with this guy. Everything with this guy is Israel. He talked this. You'll see. I think I got his name right. Let's make sure.
I mean, I really feel like we're back in the days of the old blood libels where, they made up these crazy stories about Jews and persecuted them on top of those stories.
So you're absolutely correct. And here is the problem. Cancel culture was not a good thing. However, I do think that ostracization does work to remedy problems. But what has happened now is people like Daryl Cooper. I also sent you an article about him.
Yeah, we're going to talk about him next.
Daryl Cooper, Tucker, Candace, Ian Carroll, Ryan Dawson. They, regardless of what the mainstream says about them, it doesn't matter because they have a following and they make a ton of money and they have influence. Somebody sent me this morning that Dave Smith called someone a homophobic slur, some such thing as that in a debate recently. That's not going to matter. It doesn't make any difference. His followers don't care.
No, they like that. In fact, they use that all the time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
It's now fashionable again to call somebody a fag.
Right. They think like it's cool.
Yeah.
Like, oh, you're a fag.
Countercultural.
Oh.
You're countercultural.
Yeah, you're so fucking edgy. Yeah. You know what it reminds me of? The idea that these guys think they're edgy. So one time we're in prison and there's a bunch of us sitting around at work. We worked at the industry. So you're talking about carpentry, welding, metalwork, upholstery, all that kind of stuff. Now it's me, and most of the guys are murderers, right? They're in for murder. And the instructor is talking to us. He says, yeah, you really want to get back at someone, you want to get revenge on someone, you put Vaseline on their windshield wipers. And I'm like, dude, you understand you're talking to murderers, right? Like, they get revenge by killing people, and you're talking about putting Vaseline on windshield wipers. And that's what that to me is the equivalent of these guys thinking they're edgy because they say fag and retard. Right? It's so ridiculous. You're not edgy, especially because you're not risking anything. You're catering, you're pandering
to their audience.
Yeah, pandering is never edgy.
But you know what? It's cancel culture came out, the left controlled cancel culture, and those were some of the words that people couldn't say anymore. And so they think they're being edgy because they're saying words that people couldn't say anymore 2 years ago. Lee doesn't know what a grifter is. Grifter is a con man, basically.
Or woman.
Con man or woman, snake oil salesman, that kind of thing. Lee also has problems with my face. I'm not sure why.
Lee is just pissed. Lee is pissed.
She's mad. Why is she mad? Is she mad?
You forgot why she's mad?
Because I'm not coming to the UK?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'll see you, Lee, at some point. I'll be at the UK at some point, but Papa has to work. That's just
at the UK. Okay. We need to go to the next story.
See you in the UK. So for Mother Jones, how a Nazi-obsessed amateur historian went from obscurity to the top of Substack. Now, this guy is a phenomenon I simply do not understand. Perhaps you can help me with how this guy, Daryl Cooper, who's a Holocaust denier of the first degree, who even goes as far as to say the real villain of World War II was not Hitler. It was actually Winston Churchill, who most of us would consider to be one of the heroes of World War II. He goes on to say, I think this is one of his interviews I heard, that the death camps weren't real death camps. What in fact happened was not a concerted effort to murder Jews until they were annihilated from the face of the earth. What actually happened was they just ran out of resources. They had all these people in these prisons. They didn't have enough resources to take care of them, and so those people died. But it wasn't from the malignancy of the Nazi administration or what they believed to be so, even though this stuff is written in Mein Kampf and presaged this kind of stuff in advance. Even though Hitler met with Amin Hassani, who was the Mufti of Jerusalem, and terrible anti-Semite, and the Mufti tried to conspire with him to bring fascist, anti-Jewish death squads into the Levant, into the Palestinian Mandate to murder Jews. This is apparently not what was the actual goal of the Germans in World War II. The final solution did not have anything to do with killing Jews. It just happened because they ran out of resources and material wealth. This guy is becoming immensely popular, one of the most popular writers on Substack. He's had a stint, or maybe more, on Joe Rogan, who believes everything this guy is saying. And he's getting in with some of these bigger right-wing libertarian podcasters who are just...
I believe he was introduced to the world by Dave Smith. I'm not positive, but I believe that's where he got... Why? Because the stuff he says lines up with what Dave says about Israel. But I haven't watched this guy's podcast, right? And people sometimes will say to me, oh, but you have to watch his podcast, right? What he does, and this is what this article addresses, and they even have, they believe it was a pseudonym he used to write under, I think, Juggernaut Nihilists.
Yeah, that's it.
And he would say things like, not everybody can be so outspoken. We need to bring people in slowly. You can't have people think you're crazy. So what he does, for instance, in the case of Winston Churchill, the way he initially introduced it, he was on Tucker Carlson, and he says, I have this buddy of mine, Jocko Willenick, And what I do is, I tell him maybe hyperbolically, maybe that Churchill was the chief villain.
Do you mean hypothetically?
No, hyperbolically.
Oh,
He says
hyperbolic.
he say it might be exaggerating.
Okay.
So then he goes on to say, Churchill did this, he did that, he was a drunk, whatever, all kinds of terrible things about him. But then when he gets called out later, his defender said, no, he said hyperbolically. No, well, first of all, he said maybe hyperbolically, and then he put the emphasis on maybe as if probably not. And then he went on to make the case. But he leaves wiggle room for himself in that way. So, for instance, I had a discussion actually with the person that sent me this article. He and I had a discussion about, and this is someone that's very prominent in the. I don't want to say, never mind. I don't want to stick to even a guess. But this is somebody. So he told me previously, no, but if you watch his podcast, Fear and Loathing in the New Jerusalem, he said it almost brought me to tears the way he empathized with the Jews. So what he does, so now when someone says, well, yeah, you're clearly anti-Semitic, dude, he comes back and says, oh, but look. And it's the plausible deniability that this juggernaut nihilist was talking about. And they have a pretty good case. You'd have to read the article in Mother Jones to I can't make the whole case now, but they make a good case that this juggernaut nihilist was, in fact, Daryl Cooper. But Cooper does things like emphasizes the suffering that the Germans went through, but gives no context to why they went through the suffering. He also posted dual pictures, which from what I understand, he took down now, but side-by-side shots, one of the Nazis goose-stepping behind Hitler and the other of the drag queens at the Olympic Committee. And he said at the Olympics, and he said the drag queen show is, by far worse than what's going on with the Nazis. I don't think from what I could gather, he doesn't seem to be a grifter. He seems like he's the true believer, because he's not just trying to directly cater to people. He's actually trying to bring people in. And that's scary to me. It's scary to me and if you go to his comment section, you'll see it. I mean, it's just disgusting.
And he's got somewhere in the neighborhood of over 100,000 people following him.
I think over 700,000, if I'm not mistaken.
Wow. On his Substack?
No, on Twitter.
700,000 people follow.
I believe so.
Twitter.
I believe so. I'll find out right now. Hold on.
I mean, this is absolutely crazy. Now, how is it that a guy who pushes palpably false history like this is getting such play in today's day and age? Because I don't think it would happen 10 years ago.
He has on Twitter 349,000 followers.
Okay, and his Substack is like one of the most popular Substacks around. So 349,000 people to some degree buy this shit. Now, this seems to be in line with all the conspiracy theories that are now raging on the left and the right. Both sides have their own separate conspiracy theories. Do you think it's because of this? We live in an age of irrationality, and there's absolute and total distrust in the establishment, and people think that all of their truths have been spoon-fed to them by an establishment that they don't trust?
I think that point is so vital to this, that it's a direct link from the collapse of information institutions to this. Because in the past, you make a claim like this and you have somewhere to go. You check it. For instance, you might just go to one of these fact check sites. But they've now discredited the fact check sites. I don't know if the fact check sites did this to themselves. I don't know enough about it. I know the mainstream media has done it to themselves. But the point is, there's no way to check them, because they just say, oh, yeah, you're just going to believe the elites, or you're going to believe the establishment, which is automatically disqualifying in their eyes. So when Daryl Cooper, for instance, says that Winston Churchill was the main villain of World War II, Andrew Roberts challenged them to debate. Andrew Roberts is the preeminent Churchill historian in the world. And Daryl says, oh, no, I can't debate this guy. This guy's way out of my league to debate. Well, if he's way out of your league to debate and he knows way more than you, then where are you getting your information? It turns out, and I've heard him praise these guys, that Daryl Cooper is quoting David Irving, the British Holocaust denier. So it's just it's a sad state of affairs. If we have any hope of getting things back on track, we really need to get a hold of our information systems. We need to establish credible information systems. But
And
a
how
lot
can
of
that
people
happen?
don't want
How
it.
can that possibly happen?
I don't know, but a lot of people don't want it. You think Tucker Carlson wants valid information systems?
No.
He loves that there isn't, because that is his bread and butter. He gets to be the alternative. He can say whatever he wants. And how can you challenge him? Where are you going to go for your information?
Indeed. Scary times we live in, folks, because those information organizations, they give us the news, and we make choices based on that. So that's sort of like the brain. It's sort of like our brain is now sick and taking in the wrong information. And we as human beings don't know which way to go, which way to turn, what's true. It's sort of like losing control of your consciousness. One more quick story.
This is what Allie Beard says first about the tone of the show. She says, I'm only speaking for myself. It feels very flat, a bit more stoic, and doesn't feel like there was really flavor to it. Kind of blunt, she says. I don't know, Allie. I mean, we certainly joke, but you know, the show is not a joke, so we can't just spend the entire time, you know, cracking up and laughing. So I guess that, you know, when it comes to having fun, we'll have fun, and when it's time to be serious, it can be serious. I mean, does that work for you, Mark? My answer?
I think that's a perfect answer. Yes, you know, humor is a flavoring. It's a seasoning. It shouldn't be the whole doggone thing, because we are talking about serious issues, and we want serious issues. We want the gravity of these issues to be felt by everybody.
Yeah, we also can't force it, right? We can't just force humor. We're not comedians. Mark's an actor, but we're not comedians.
Hear that,
Mark? You know, instead of getting to the last story, I'd like to address something here that Manu asked earlier. Manu wants to know, if I can't find it, I'll just paraphrase, and Manu, you can tell me if I'm wrong. Okay, when I said you should be following Ryan Dawson, Manu basically, because I said he's a dick, and Manu says, well, why would you follow him if he's a dick? Well, the reason is because Mark is very passionate about Israel. And this is somebody that is a grifter on the other side, constantly criticizing Israel. And it does us no good to evade the grifters of the world, to evade the Ryan Dawsons, the Tucker Carlsons, the Dave Smith. Evading them doesn't make them go away. There's people that think, and I disagree wholeheartedly, that if you engage them, you're somehow giving them sanction and legitimacy. The problem is they already have it. They have that legitimacy with large swaths of people. And the only way to delegitimize them is if you know what they're saying and can counter it with reason and truth, which is why I tell Mark that he should follow the guy. You can see this is one of the main speakers out there about this stuff. So he follows him. He gets to see what he says, counteracts it, defeats him. That's the ultimate goal. It's why I follow communists, for instance.
Yes, we must do that. Ryan Dawson. No, it's not the guy with 51 followers.
No.
So what's his handle? Is it Ryan Dawson?
RI for Liberty, I think.
RI for Liberty. Okay, let me see. You continue talking while I get this guy up on my.
What am I going to be talking about?
You'll find something.
It's RI Liberty, RY Liberty, at RY Liberty. Oh, Manu is yelling at me now. Manu says that she just thought it was funny. Well, some things are just hurtful, Manu. I don't know what to tell you.
Well, folks, we do.
Allie Beard says Mark is very passionate about Israel. Yeah, he is. Ray's does the heavy lifting on the comedy with the thumbnails. He does. But let me just say, like, that nothing ever will do more for the comedy level of this show than Mark talking about how he gets notifications on the junk size of various actors. Nothing. Like, there's nothing I could dream of.
I did not get a notification.
There's nothing. Then how do you know them all? You know them all. You have
6 of the New York.
You have a list. You have like a list.
I don't. I'm not into the junk of other actors. I don't.
Well, you bring it up the other day. You talked about
All
cockfighting.
you're
I don't
doing
know.
is giving Persephone lots of fodder for.
But the point of the matter here is like that's humorous, and Mark just does it natural. Like there's no need for me to try to be funny.
True. I'm a naturally funny guy. So Mark likes to tag a lot of communists. I like to dog communists into submission. What's so funny about that?
You just keep tagging those communists, Mark. Keep
I
tagging
tag
them.
them. All right, folks. So we don't have time to do more articles today, and there were so many interesting ones. We're going to end with the capitalist thought of the day, which is in Michael's lap
No,
today.
it is not. No, it's
the
not.
birthday. The birthday boy should
I did
probably give
Friday.
capitalist thought.
No, I'm not doing it again. I did it Friday.
Well, you think birthday boy gets to get away with anything he wants, huh? All right, folks. Well, we've been talking a lot about the information outlets today. We've got the establishment news, which is always spinning news to their preferred side. And we've got all these alternative news sources, the vast majority of which are not only not objective, but they are now starting to put forth palpable lies about history. And they are acquiring massive followings. Now, this is as a result of being in a world that promotes anti-rationalism and emotionalism over reason. But to live in a capitalist society, folks, you have to be at your rational best. A capitalist society promotes rational action because irrational action loses. You're just going to lose. And there's nobody there to really stop you from losing. There's no subsidy that's going to stop you from losing. There's no government force that will enable you to prop up, even though you're a zombie corporation. None of that will stop you. Reality is the arbiter, the final arbiter in a capitalist country, folks. And in a capitalist country, of course, these various news outlets would have their place, but the market would be able to decide which ones are rational, which ones are not. That means you and me can pick and choose the people we choose to get our news from. I get my news from only a couple of sources because the other ones I've found to be quite irresponsible. You can do the same thing, and you will have the choice to do that. So remember, a rational society, a capitalist society, promotes reason, as we promote reason every single day here. Reason is your means of knowing the world. So focus on it. Don't let the culture of irrationality take you down. Hold on to reason like it's your life preserver, because it is, and understand that it is the basis of a capitalist and free society. And so with that, I'm going to say adieu. We will see you here tomorrow, same bat time, same bat place, 9 a.m. Pacific, 12 p.m. Eastern time. You have 23 hours to check your premises. You have 23 hours to pick reason up off the ground and use it for yourself today. Don't be like the irrationalists out there, the Donald Trumps of the world. Be the answer, be the solution, not the part of the problem, folks. Until then, I will see you later. Peace.
Thanks for all the birthday wishes.